back to uniqueness, is about them, right? And so our model really rewards the person who's showing up naturally themselves and gives them feedback on how other people are seeing it. But it's not like a Likert where it's like 0 to 10. It actually describes the behavior of that leader on each of the questions.
Entrepreneurs, we are back, and I am as excited as ever. We had some great banter go on behind the scenes, and we're bringing you on someone with 36 years of business experience, graduating from Harvard Business School. He has got a lot to share. Gary, thanks for stopping by to That Entrepreneur Show.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's always fun to talk about something one is passionate about.
Oh, I love helping other entrepreneurs on their journey, and I do that by bringing on accomplished entrepreneurs like yourself, willing to share their story. And if it is your first time with us, I want to welcome you to That Entrepreneur Show. I've had the amazing privilege of interviewing founders of companies or brands each week since 2019. And today, through this hard work of putting these shows together, we finally land on our guest today. Let me run a little background by you. He's a dynamic leader with a lot of experience, known for his upbeat, results-driven growth philosophy. He specializes in the call center industry, where he has a national reputation in leadership development and historic reputation for integrity, resilience, adaptability, and continuous personal development. Let's talk about those four areas right there. A lot of people are focused with the bottom line, and that's it. They don't put emphasis on those other areas. You know the importance of doing so. Let's talk about what led you to that.
Well, my business partner and I, former business partner, Rick Diamond, we started with $4,000 and 2000 each and grew from the two of us to 2,200 people. And doing that, at first you think it's all about you and being clever, being smart, but you quickly realize as you start staffing up, it has everything to do with the people. And so instead of thinking about it as what am I going to get done, it's more how can I orchestrate getting things done through others. And so out of necessity, you begin to learn that it's all about the people. And yeah, people do a lot of talking about it, but it's a different thing than really creating a culture that is engaged and positive and moving forward. And I think it was just out of necessity that it came to me.
I've already had to type up two quick show notes, and I only try to do four or five so I don't overload the guests. Two people and $4,000 to 2,200 people. I can't pat you on the back because you're in Minnesota. I'm all the way up here visiting mom in New York. But let's talk about, because I know there's probably levels to, hiring more staff, right? Maybe it's going to 10 people, then 100 people. What are some of those, I guess, ranges that you found challenges in?
We found the first one to be getting past us, right? So then you get past you and you figure some things out and then you get some help. But 50 was another threshold for us,
50.
about 120, another one. And then we discovered this thing called the Dunbar number. And the Dunbar number was how many um, people can you have in your life and hold in your short-term memory or your resonant memory? Like you're in New York today, right? Visiting mom, right? Mom's part of that resonant memory,
Yeah.
right? You have best friends, right? So they take up space, right? Positively take up space. I'm not saying in the negative, right? And then we have employees, and you're right. So as this grows, what they found is on the low side, most people are like 80 to 100. And on the high side, really high side, very few people can do it. I certainly can't, is about 250 people in your life. So when you start thinking about this and scaling, one is you can only hold so many of those people in your resident memory to go, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to talk to this person about this. And, they care deeply about this. So you have to learn to manage through other people.
Right.
And the first thing is, how do I manage people directly, the direct supervisor. But then the next really hard thing to do is like, I'm not going to be talking very often to this other whole group of people. The people reporting to me are. So if I want to have influence, I have to figure out how to impact the people that report to me in a very explicit way. I found like modeling behavior doesn't do it like alone. Like, yeah, you should be modeling the right behavior that you'd like to see in others. But if
Right.
you're not explicit about what you're modeling, people don't just naturally pick it up and say, oh, well, you know, Vincent, shows up this way. I should show up as Vincent does. It's more like you show up the way you do, and then you say, what I learned about in leadership is that if I show up this way, um, people respond. So you might think about seeing how I'm modeling this and see how it works for you or what variation, because we know in leadership, nobody's the same. There's no like blueprint. This is how Jack Welch is, or this is how, Bill Gates or whoever you want to bring out as that leader. And therefore, I should act like this. It won't work. Does that help with what
A
you were
hundred
looking?
percent. And I think that it's an important lesson for everyone. What works for some won't work for everyone. And we are all different people with all different strengths, different preferences, different weaknesses. You can't try to mold yourself and force yourself into a box. That's where you're going with that.
That's where I'm going because we are unique, and so like the work I currently do is executive coaching and leadership development, and I don't try to get people to be like I was or like I'd like to be or like somebody else is. I try to figure out for them how to help them uncover the part of them that's really unique and special that leads people in the context of the business they're running.
I like that. Well, you're certainly doing a good job of that with this continued success. So congratulations on all that. Let's talk more about your current practice. You just teased it a little bit. Let's talk about what you're working on now.
Well, the latest is uh, around Ascent. So, Ascent leadership is about 4 years ago. We decided that we wanted to create a model that really integrates our best thinking as a team. And
Okay.
what we came up with was a model that's about purpose, culture, people, execution, systems, and strategies. So 6 domains. Under those 6 domains, our belief is it's a very holistic view of the world. So, like when I often listen to other authors on leadership, I'm very impressed with the depth of knowledge they have in any one of those spaces, right? To us, though, to be a great leader, one needs to be really clear that there's these 6 domains going on all the time. If I change something in the system, it's going to change my purpose, my strategies, how people react to something, the culture, right? So I really need to consider in all my decision making, in all my leading, how each one of these domains affects the other based upon
Hmm.
what I'm trying to do. And it sounds a little complex, and we like simple, right?
Right.
The problem is the world is becoming more and more complex. And so, unless we deal with that level of complexity with our clients, they're not going to be very effective in their leadership. So, we built an assessment tool that's really unique in that it's not just like, how would I say it? Many 360 tools today in measuring leadership. One is they measure against the entire population of leaders and they try to claim that there is a type and it does best. I've not seen that. I've not witnessed that. I've seen people who demonstrated very little leadership and done amazingly well. And with a little refinement, they do even better. But the refinement, again, back to uniqueness, is about them, right? And so our model really rewards the person who's showing up naturally themselves and gives them feedback on how other people are seeing it. But it's not like a Likert where it's like 0 to 10. It actually describes the behavior of that leader on each of the questions. So it was time consuming as hell to write those. And it's so helpful because the leader actually knows the feedback they're getting. It's not like if you and I were talking, we're both curious people and ask a lot of questions. But we might be with somebody who thinks they ask a lot of
Mm.
questions but don't, right? And so if we were taking it, we might score them a 3, or they might score us a 5. But we might actually be a 10. Who knows? Like
Mm.
it's so subjective, right? So through this process and this modeling, we take that information, we really help our clients get very clear on the practices that they want to work on based upon all this feedback. And it's quite exciting watching the shift in clients.
Well, absolutely. And without feedback, we'll never make progress. I think that was a huge just turning point for me was surrounding myself with people who aren't just going to tell me, yeah, it looks great. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I like it. No, it looks good, but this could make it a little better. Or, hey, maybe you could try doing this differently next time.
Yeah. And how have you improved by getting that feedback?
Leaps and bounds. If I didn't get that feedback, I'd still be stuck place one. And I may be butchering the quote, but it says it's sad to be in the same place you are this year than next year, right? You want to be
Yeah.
somewhat different. And for a while, I was so, and again, a bad place, content with how the career was progressing at a younger age. And then eventually you realize that something's got to change if you want to take it to the next level. And now I'm just grateful. I'm finishing up an incubator program I spent the last year in to take the podcast production to a new level. And now, um, definitely nice to not have to rely on side hustles and side jobs that pull you away from the main picture. We need to pay our bills at first, and I've been there. Had the hospitality side hustle for a while, but it just certainly, although it taught me lessons, staying up late doesn't coexist with needing to be up early as an entrepreneur and effective at that. But he's inspiration today that you don't have to start somewhere to end where you are. He's now on a new business, finding new sense of satisfaction, new passion. I love all of that. Is there anything else you want to share about your company that we haven't touched on yet? Who is your ideal customer, perhaps, right now?
Our ideal customer is the one you brought it up earlier, which is there are these inflection points. And the inflection points we don't usually see it is around revenue, but we see it around people. And so when you get to one of these, you know you're getting there. Like I don't have to explain what they are. You will know. You're feeling overwhelmed. Typically, you feel like blaming others.
Hmm.
It can't be me, it must be them, and you're pointing fingers and all of that. And it's like, why can't I hire the smart people like my friend? Or, it's those types of comments, but you're starting to feel overwhelmed by your situation. And that sense of overwhelm is because you're dealing with a level of complexity in the world that you didn't have to before,
Right.
because life was simpler, right? And it was simpler. There weren't as many people. And as you add people, the level of complexity goes up. The more customers you're dealing with goes up. And so all those things add to this complexity. And it's a state of mind. And the state of mind is, how do I manage things that don't make sense to me anymore? Which is, you have to evolve to that next stage. And so the ideal customer for us is recognizing a stress, a pressure, feeling like they can't get enough done. They're blaming their team, and they wake up and they go, okay, then I need something, and that's what we're there for. We're unlike a lot of coaching firms, we are business people turned coaches. We're not therapists turned coaches. And there's a very, very big difference in that our customers say, because we're about how would it help you scale? How do you make more money? How do you create greater profits? How do you reduce your costs? So,
I love that. And that's very clear. Thank you for sharing that, everyone out there. If you think you fit that niche of his ideal client, excuse me, reach out to him. We're about to find out how online in just a moment. But before we get there, if you could sit down with any entrepreneur, Gary, dead or alive, who you don't know yet, who you haven't met yet, who would you choose to pick their brain?
It's interesting you ask that because often I don't have those people in mind because I get to meet so many. I'm a Crown Fellow at the Aspen Institute, and it's kind of a who's who of that. But Kahneman, the author, sociologist, psychologist, passed away recently, and I found the words coming out of myself to a friend saying, I missed the opportunity to meet Daniel Kahneman because his thinking is so clear, so helpful, and so powerful that I wish I could have had that and gotten more.
All right. Well, let's say we could have made this meeting happen. Where would you choose the location to be?
It would definitely be in the outdoors walking. I find that even when I'm coaching, often if I'm not on Zoom, I'm out walking, often in the mountains while talking to my clients, and my clients are often walking.
Mhm.
And we both find that there's a way of holding memory with that physical activity that you just don't get in sitting
Mhm.
face to face.
Absolutely true. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for so much. You gave me a lights out show. I look forward to staying in touch, seeing how all of this evolves. Now, where can we find you online? Social, website, email, whatever you use most.
Uh, I can be reached at Cohen at co2coaching.com is easiest way. If you go to co2coaching.com, there's ways to get in touch. You can Google me at Gary B. Cohen, and other than the baseball player, you'll find me.
Thank you for sharing that. Everyone.
Isn't it the Yankees that Gary Cohen? Was it the Yankees?
This is so here's a little backstory with Mother's Day. My sister and I, we take my mom to a game every year. She's the biggest Yankee fan I've ever met. She's such a big fan to where she ran out the American flag this year on opening day. She was in that group that came out of center field. So you need to have her and like a second mother to mine, Carolyn, from a kindergarten friend, Michelle, her mom. They've been best friends since I was in kindergarten, now 32. They had in the boonies season tickets in middle school, and they've had them now for 21 years. And the rule that their season ticket rep would say is, hey, you can't run out the flag till you get your 20-year, chip, right? Your 20 years at the
Right.
stadium. So that's why you see that there. You are an inspiration, and you certainly motivated me throughout this show. I appreciate you again for taking time and sharing your contact info. Everyone, do not be shy. If this is a good contact for you, you saw his friendly demeanor today. I'm sure he'd love to connect and work. With that, I am at Vincent A. Lanci on all social and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to me there. A few weeks after the show's released, we'll get some video to keep you back updated with Gary. But with that, we are signing off this time from Minnesota to New York. A little different today. Thank you so much, Gary.
Thank you.